This is not a CGC unboxing. Or is it? Hey there, today I have I guess, series of unboxings that I'm going to put all together in this one single video. And I'm not sure what the comic book or YouTube community rules are as far as unboxing videos or CGC unboxing. If you order slabs in the mail, is that a CGC unboxing if you open the mail and show the slab? Or does it have to be books you send to CGC? I'm not quite sure exactly how that works, so please forgive me. What this is kind of a compilation of what I've been doing recently. And I'm going to open several packages that I got in the mail, and they're all CGC 9.8 slabs. What I've been thinking about is the overall cost of grading a book. First acquiring the book, then determining if it's a 9.8, assuming the risk of sending a book in and maybe it not being a 9.8, and what is the cost associated with that, along with the increased fees, wait time, and all of that stuff. And I just thought, I wonder if the entire comic book graded market is also factoring that in, almost like some sort of new baked in cost of all of this, of getting comic books graded. And what I feel like is it's not. There are some nuances that I still don't quite understand when it comes to graded comic books. I've talked about one that still baffles me, and that is the ratio incentive. It's one of the reasons where even though I have some ratio incentives behind me, I'm starting to peel off of that, because I feel like unless you have like the ratio incentive, and by that I mean like the ultimate Fallout 4 1 in 25, if you have kind of the standard run-of-the-mill 1 in 10 or 1 in 25 and it's graded, I don't feel like the multiplier really truly kicks in until there's that it becomes sort of that premium grail. And again, I think Ultimate Fallout 4 is the example. The most recent example is Captain Carter #1, where that 1 in 25 is now selling raw for over $200. The Jenny Frison Sandman 1 in 100 is selling very well. But I wonder, once they become encased in a CGC or CBCS plastic slab, then what does it do to the value? I feel like it decreases the value again, and you have to throw out the grails. I'm just talking about your everyday kind of hot or more desirable comic book. So there's things that, as it goes through the CGC grading process, or any, and I just use CGC, that is the grading company that I use, but I think it applies to really any professional grading company. I just feel like there are certain things that we forget about. We forget about ratios, we forget about exclusives, even the cost involved to getting like a creator signature. There's all of these costs associated with getting books graded. So I just started to think to myself, is there a way that I can skip a lot of those fees? And I know just buying the graded book is certainly one way to do that, but which graded books? So that's what I've done, is I've started to look at, I would say, either forgotten titles or titles that maybe there's a bit of saturation in the market. And there's no spoilers or surprises here. These are titles. Think about Something is Killing the Children, House of Slaughter, Department of Truth. These are titles that have a significant number of variants, where maybe the comic book collecting community is just a little, I don't know, worn out by them, maybe. Berserker is another one. There's certainly a large section of comic book collectors that feel like you have to slab everything. And then what happens is those books come back at a 9.8. They're not as popular or as in demand. However, those collectors or owners that want to flip or sell those books or still feel like, well, if I can get a book for $2 or $3, get it in a 9.8 and sell it for a certain amount and make $5 or $10 per slab, and they can sell 50, 100 of these, they can make that money, but it's just a lot of time. Time is another thing that's hard to quantify. Think about CGC and CBCS return times. Can you put a value on that? Can you say that a particular book that is in hand, on sale, or at auction somewhere, is it more valuable because it's in hand and not sitting in a warehouse somewhere ready to be graded? And what is that time worth? Right now, the turnaround time, the average turnaround time for me to get books back from CGC is about 4 months. So it's hard for me to really understand, what money am I losing or gaining, or what is the cost of that wait time? I haven't really thought that through yet, or try to figure out put a formula together. But essentially, what I'm doing is trying to snipe slabs at different times throughout the day, because I think that there are fewer people checking auctions at certain times of the day or certain days of the week. And what I find is someone will list a slab of a title that I think people are worn out by, or forgotten, or don't care about anymore. And Something is Killing the Children, I think, is one of those titles. I'm a big investor in that title. I have a lot of books, a lot of exclusives, a lot of ratios. Even I'm kind of tired of it. I'm just kind of reading it, but from the collectability standpoint, I'm tired of that part. The variants still keep spilling out, and I'm passing on them. Occasionally I'll grab one or two, but I'm not as sort of laser focused on that particular title. So these are some of the books that I kind of keep an eye on, and I don't search for them specifically. I just let whatever is happening at that time of day kind of dictate what I'm going to bid on. And then I do a quick lookup in terms of the fair market value of that book. And I'm only targeting auctions that are ending. So I have a bunch of saved searches and searches that I query on at, like I said, at different times of the day. And I did this recently over the last maybe couple of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox all of these and then talk about the slabs and the values and do a little, comparison analysis, just to kind of see in terms of, what we're all paying to get books graded, and see if this model, if this strategy is sustainable. But first, let's take a look at the books. All right, let me get to the unboxing. I'm just going to open the boxes right here. I have this huge stack of USPS priority mail boxes and other cardboard boxes here. So I'm going to go ahead and unbox all of these. And like I said, I'm going to rip through them. So hang tight, and then take a look at all of the gorgeous CGC 9.8 slabs inside. And here we go. All right, here is the stack of slabs, and it's one of these where when I feel like I've stumbled on some idea or I have some theory, I need to have a really solid set of test cases to go through. So before I show you the books, I want to talk about one other thing, and there, I tried to stay. Well, these all of these books were purchased through auctions. I really try to set a limit for each book and not go over. But I will say that I remember one in particular, maybe a couple in here, or now that I look at it, maybe three. I did get caught up in a little bit of a bidding war and ended up kind of maybe getting around what I thought was fair market value, or maybe just going a little bit above. So that is part of the risk, is that the collector in me does get caught up in like having to have a book. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, these are books that aren't really in that much of a demand at this moment. So that is something to take into consideration if you're trying something like this, is you have to be vigilant with your method and stick to limits and don't get caught up in it. And still, if it's not, well, maybe $5 more and it's still a deal. Like you, at some point you have to draw the line. And there were auctions where I lost. There was one in particular I remember losing, and I think it was the John Tyler Christopher Jean Grey Phoenix exclusive. I think it was an exclusive that he did where it was like 3 different colors. And I got into a huge bidding war, and I ended up just stopping. And of course, it ended for a few dollars more than my final bid, and I had a little bit of heartache over that one. But then I just was like, what am I doing? I'm getting caught up in auctions and things again. So you really want to find your price point or price range and stick to it. And so what I'll do is I'll create my saved search. And within eBay, as you add books to your watch list, you can go back to your watch list and create a note for each item in your watch list, which is really cool. So what I would do is I would pick a time during the day where I feel like this is the time where I either have time in my day to watch auctions and participate, or I feel like it's just a time of day where maybe people aren't as active on eBay as they would other times. I don't know. So I would then find books that are ending in that time frame, and I would add those books to my watch list. I would, prior to the close of the auction, would go into cover price, GPA, and find value data. And I would add that note. So go into eBay, check your watch list, and there's it's either like an add note or edit note for this item, and I would drop the value in. Then I could go about my day and maybe circle back around that maybe hour or that block of time that I have to really participate. And by participate, I don't always mean bid. I just mean monitor and track and so forth. So if I was doing this on my phone where I was away from my desktop, I could still look at that note, right? Or I had some notes stored somewhere, so I didn't have to always like wonder or guess at what the value is. So I think you know where I'm coming from. This is kind of the results of that experiment, and then coming up after this is going to be the analysis. One last thing I promise, and then I will shut up. As I'm recording, I'm getting some comments on videos, and I got a comment on my last CGC unboxing video, and it's talking about you have to be, like that I have to do more with analyzing my books and reviewing them. Commenters are saying you should press and clean every book you send into CGC. And there's part of me that just feels like, okay, I mean, they're not wrong, but kind of what I talked about earlier, time is money, effort is money. This is why people buy slabs. So let me show you the ones that I bought, and we'll take a look and compare the value. Let's get to it. The first one is Wind #1. And this is the Peach Momoko Virgin Sketch Edition. So I've talked about Wind before. It is written by James Tynion. I'm a big believer in Tynion. Again, House of Slaughter, other properties, Nightmare Country, even. Is he still in his prime? Is he still doing the work that I think everyone thinks he is? I believe so. I still believe in Tinian as a writer and as a creator, and I think that Wind is going to come back around and be a story that I think people will go back to. This is from 2020, kind of when Peach Momoko was, I want to say in her heyday, like she's retired or something, but she was. It's a very cool cover. It's a sketch cover, so you get to see kind of the details of the line art and everything like that. So anyway, this is a Sanctum Sanctorum Comics exclusive, and considered to be of some print run or of some rarity. But I think Win number one has a lot of collectability, and I wanted to grab the sketch version. I invested in these raw. It was the standard Momoko, the sketch, and then I think it was the Virgin Color. So I have all of these raw, and I never sent them in for grading, and just figured, why not get it raw? Okay, that was a lot on that book. I'm not going to spend that much time on every book here. The next one, actually, these two I got from the same seller, Proctor Valley Road #1. Another series, I think there was some option news that came and went. Written by Grant Morrison, so this is a common theme that I have where maybe it's not the most sought after title ever. These are all moderns, released within the last 2 years. But I try to figure out what's the common theme with these, and it is very well-known, distinguished, award-winning creators. This is Grant Morrison, Proctor Valley Road. I have a lot of these in singles, including incentives and other exclusives for Proctor Valley. This is just the standard cover A, and wanted to grab that in a 9.8. Speaking of other well-known individuals, Berserker #1, and right there, Keanu Reeves. It's just a matter of time before somebody does something with this. I think Keanu Reeves being attached to other great creators, Matt Kint, Ron Garney, Bill Crabtree, all fabulous, fantastic. The art in this by Garney, the covers by Raphael Grandpa, but the interiors by Garney are insane. And the fact that Keanu's attached, this is going to be standard cover A. So Berserker had, I don't know, like 50 different variants, maybe even more than that. Then count the late printings and the late printing variants. I think the just standard cover A is going to be a nice book. Is this going to be $100 someday? Possibly. The print run on this is crazy, insane high. So there's a lot of these out there, which, because the supply is large, the price is low. This one, a bit hard to see. There's some tape on the bag. Let me get this out. So a little note to sell it. I had to completely ruin this bag thanks to the tape monster eating the top of this bag. So I had this. This will be a wasted, graded slab bag. But the slab is the most important thing. This is House of X #3, and this is the variant by Jeff DeCall. So another artist that I love, and I'm always doing scans, just using his name, just trying to find books that he's associated with. So to me, this had a lot going for it. This slab is scratched just slightly, hard to tell here, but oh, there you go. Right there, you can kind of tell. Sorry about the glare, but there's some scratches along the front, so that's not great. But from a distance, you can't really tell. But I thoroughly enjoyed House of X. Again, creators Jonathan Hickman, Jeff DeCal, cover, Pepe Larraz on the art, Psylocke. So this is considered like it's like the decades variant. But I I love DeCal. I love displaying his art. So this was kind of a no-brainer. This was one that I did get caught up in a bit of a bidding war on that one. So did I overpay? We'll find out here. Here's another one. Something is Killing the Children, number 16. I'll get this out of the bag as well. These are tough with the glare. There we go. So this one is the cover's by Cale New, and this is the Virgin cover. So this is a Scott's Collectibles exclusive, and it is the Virgin cover. And these Virgin covers are gorgeous in the slab because the trade actually comes up into the label, so to speak, right? So kind of reminiscent of the first issue with the trees in the background. And Cale New's art is fantastic. So again, great artist on the cover, obviously Tinian writing it, and so forth. And on the label, first full appearance of Jessica Slaughter, origin of Erica Slaughter begins. So could potentially be a key if and when this series turns into some sort of media property. Hopefully it'll be a full feature-length film. It could be a series. Who knows? But, you know, Erica is going to need supporting characters. Jessica's first appearance. Virgin cover slabbed. I think that might have been the most expensive one that I picked up. Department of Truth. Series I love. I think all these books are written by Tinian. It's funny. Or almost all. James Tinian on story, Martin Simmons on art. And Simmons also did the cover for this, kind of a graphic design style cover. This is the 4th print. If you're looking at cover price, I believe the 4th print is the least valuable of all the prints. It is black and white, though. I think it's the only one that's black and white. Most of the alternate prints have some sort of color scheme or are kind of red and white. This is the only black and white one. So again, because low value, high supply, really cheap. And picked this up because huge fan. I love the story. Love issue 1 in particular. So I'm grabbing that. Keeping with the Tinian theme, this is James Tinian and Tate Brombaugh on story on House of Slaughter, number 1. And this is the 1 in 50. So this was kind of playing with my theory around the ratios. And I didn't just coincidentally or randomly put that book there behind me because I paid for the raw one. I just figured, oh, it's a new series out of the Something is Killing the Children universe, House of Slaughter. I went all in. It didn't pay off. I got all kinds of variants and exclusives, incentives for that, and now it feels rather silly. So because everything is kind of silly, I got this slabbed in a 9.8 for a very, very silly price. So that's what's interesting is that, you know, when something like House of Slaughter didn't really take off, but still has some... There's something about it there with either the creators or the fact that it's kind of a side story to Something is Killing the Children. You know, is this going to be important down the road? Possibly, maybe not. Who knows? But to get a 1 in 50 slapped in a 9.8 as if you were buying cover A, I couldn't pass on it. The other thing, Jenny Frison on cover art. So again, just trying to stay with it. Like, I feel like if I choose poorly, at least I'm choosing great creators. Have 3 more to go. These 3 I bought all from the same seller. This is Star Wars number 12. Nothing super significant here other than the fact that it is a John Tyler Christopher action figure variant. And these are crazy because it totally looks like you're holding up one of the original Star Wars toy. All of these action figure variants are so well done and super cool. And I think that at first it was cool, and then people thought, okay, now Marvel is kind of just making every action figure a variant, and I don't know how many, like 100 of these there are. Poor JTC had to just crank these out. This is from 2021, so May, so about a year ago, and it's got Luke in the Stormtrooper outfit, relatively cheap. I'm not a huge, like, I'm not trying to get every single one of these, but these are fun to hang on the wall and just trick people and just tell them, look, it's the action figure, and they're just like, whoa, and it looks 3D. So anyway, grab that one. The next one is Doctor Doom number 10. So I don't have a lot of great Doctor Doom covers in my collection. I do have some old FFs, but not maybe 9.8 worthy. And just grab this. This is the final issue of his first solo series. I don't know what the print runs were on this, but you kind of assume that once we get towards the final issue, the print runs are probably dropping. And issue 1 has started to pick up started to appreciate a little bit. I think it's about a $10 book now, maybe $15 book, because it's considered Doctor Doom's first solo series. This is a great Salvador Larroca cover. Christopher Cantwell on story. Larroca also did the art, the interior art. So great creative team. Doctor Doom 9.8. There we go. Last book, I've already talked about it, but it's another Department of Truth, except this one has the yellow label. Now this is the 6th printing. It is technically listed as the variant cover B error. If you don't know, or if you don't remember, essentially they flip-flopped the incentive, the 1 in 25, and this, and then kind of made a mistake, and then I think it was like the 1 in 25 was the Virgin cover, and it became kind of a mess, and it was hard for me to remember exactly which one was the incentive and which one was the error or the recalled issue. I don't know. Here's why I got this one. I got this one because it's yellow. I don't know how else to explain it. Obviously, it's signed by Martin Simmons, James Tynion right here. So that's super cool. I already said why I love Department of Truth, but this one, it was a signature series slab for a great deal, and it's yellow. I don't want to say, you should always get books that match the label, but sometimes they just kind of look better if it's the same kind of color scheme. It just kind of pops, maybe, if you're looking at some of these. Maybe you agree, disagree, but anyway, I love this in the yellow. I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, it matches, it pops, it's great. You've got some silver, Simmons signed in silver, Tynion signed in black here on the yellow. So I think it's cool. I just liked it. I just really, really liked it. So I grabbed that as well. Okay, that was the stack of slabs. Let's get to the numbers and see, did any of this make sense? Did I really spend wisely here, or was I just in a mood to buy slabs? Let's look at the numbers and see how I did. Okay, let's take a look at some of these numbers. This is a sheet I just put together, and it sort of consolidates all of these slabs that I ordered. And then I'm just kind of working through the numbers, looking at them from some different angles. So we have a total of 10 slabs that I purchased within the last couple of weeks. And this column G here is my actual final bid price, all graded 9.8. And then I've got some other data, some references here that I'll be using. The cover price, fair market value, the GPA reported CGC value for this book. K is probably one of the most important columns. It's my total cost. And by total cost, I mean it's the final ending bid number plus shipping and tax. So it is the total cost for me to actually have this book, unbox it, open it, store it, all of that. Like, to have it in my possession, this is what the total cost was. And I do believe in tracking that number instead of your final auction price, because especially with slabs, the cost to ship these books to you is usually pretty high. And it's something to consider too. If you're buying from eBay, you're always going to pay shipping and tax. There are times where you can buy from other sources where maybe if you order above a certain amount, you unlock free shipping and a slab gets included. I have bought from Shopify-based stores and picked up slabs, and it seems like I might have overpaid for the slab. But when you take out the tax and the shipping off of that, it's actually a nice somewhere like 10, 15, 20% discount. So anyway, column K is very important to me, so I'm probably just going to just kind of ignore to the left of that for right now. Right now for me, for a 10-book CGC submission, I have the grading fee averaging out to be $32.23. So that's if I take 10 raw books and I send them off to CGC, and it's just standard. There's no expedited service or anything, just the standard value submission off to CGC. And that number is, if it looks higher and you're like, it doesn't really cost that much to get it graded, I insure my shipment going out, and I insure it based on what I think the grade could be. So if I'm sending a book and I think it's a 9.8 and it's $1,000 9.8, I pay USPS insurance for that $1,000 rate. So this is what I'm averaging. This is what I do. But this is the shipment from my house, the insurance, the CGC fees. There's a $5 handling fee, all that stuff. And then the shipping charge back to my house. These are all these sort of hidden costs associated, and why I'm considering, targeting these lower priced or lower cost auctions. Anyway, so the column L is it's a static value of $32.23. And then I just have a cost minus fees just to see, like, it's not that, well, I paid less for the book because I didn't have to pay the fee, but that's kind of where my head is at, just a little bit, just to kind of see, like, I don't have to pay the fees, but I'm still paying for the book. So I just wanted to do a little bit of comparison there, but it's not really providing me any value in that regard. Now, there's 3 different areas that I'm looking at. So let's look at the first one. And this is cover price analysis. What I did was I took the cover price. So what I mean is, what did it cost on release day without any additional hype, just the standard, and not like, well, I get a discount from TFAR, none of that stuff, just basic cover price, what's printed on the book. Wind number 1, the sketch edition from Sanctorum, you can still buy this book directly from them for $34.99. That is what they have it for sale. It's their exclusive. They set the price. That's what it is. The rest of it are cover prices. The Scott's Collectibles one, that sold in a pair. It was the trade and the virgin for $40. And I usually just kind of assume the virgin is about 25 and the trade is 15 under those circumstances. So that's why I put $24.99. And then the House of Slaughter 1 in 50, I just put it at ratio. Could you have gotten it for less? Yes, but this is a non-negotiable arena here when it comes to cover price. Typically, the ratio books sell at ratio. That's kind of what the standard is. So a 1 in 25 sells for $25. A 1 in 50 sells for $50. All right. So for the cover price analysis, what I ended up doing is just comparing the cost to grading with the cost to purchase the book, right? So I added those two together. So for Wind, for example, it was $34.99 plus that $32 to grade the book. And then I looked at my cost just to grab the book off of eBay fully shipped with tax, and then gave it a value. So in this case, if this value is positive, then it does mean that it was actually cheaper just to acquire the book slabbed. And not many were. You could see House of Slaughter. Again, so that one's interesting. It was a 1 in 50, and my actual total cost to buy that book and have it shipped to me was $46.59. So less than cover price raw. So I mean, and it's because the book has dropped in value. House of Slaughter has really lost a lot of interest there. Everything else is negative, or at least close. Like Doctor Doom 10, my cost $36.58, but the cost to grade it plus the cover price $36.22. So kind of pretty much broke even there. So really, Wind and House of Slaughter, just because they were sort of ratios. The biggest loser here was Something is Killing the Children 16, the Scott's Collectibles Virgin exclusive, where had I just purchased it raw for $24.99, it came back to me. Now, also by cover price too. Remember, how do you acquire them? I'm not actually flying out to the UK to purchase the book from Scott's Collectibles directly. I would have to also pay for shipping. So, I don't know if I want to wash out shipping, or I just kind of, to keep the math simple, but my value here is probably greater than what it shows, just because I haven't factored the additional money it would take to acquire the book. I just put cover price. So keep that in mind too. These aren't specifically to the penny, but just kind of giving me a rough idea. So that's the cover price analysis. So these are books that if I just bought them on day one, I didn't have to pay any secondary market markup, and this is what it is. And again, got a pretty good deal on the House of Slaughter 1 and Wind number 1. Now, looking at fair market value analysis. So this basically, the short version is I'm swapping cover price versus the cost it would, I'm swapping in the number based on what it would cost you to acquire the book today, assuming its fair market value as reported by cover price. So for example, a little strange, but even though you can buy the sketch version edition of Wind number 1 for $35 right now, cover price reports a fair market value of $42.28. So that's where we're going with. You can see Proctor Valley Road is still roughly around cover, as is Department of Truth, the 4th print. Star Wars 12 doesn't have an FMV reported on that one. Department of Truth 6th print is fair market value is less than cover. So it's kind of all over the place. But then the biggest loser from a day one sort of cover priced analysis is the biggest winner here, or one of the biggest winners here. No, it is the biggest winner right here in terms of comparing my cost to acquire this already slabbed versus fair market value. So the fair market value of that book raw is $90. I was surprised that it was that high. So if I were to buy that today off of eBay raw for $90 and have to get it slabbed, it would cost me $122.97. That was the most expensive one I purchased at almost $109 door to door. But still, that was cheaper than buying it raw at fair market value and slabbing it. Again, Wind is kind of winning here. In both the cover price and fair market value, just because they're about the same. And the biggest loser is Department number 1, the 6th print. Now, it's the biggest loser because I'm just comparing it to a CGC 9.8 value and not the Signature series. So I'm kind of ignoring that as far as like whether or not this is an appropriate sort of model to consider going forward, because that's a Signature series. I don't have Signature series analysis just because I only have a handful of those books. Doctor Doom 10, a slight winner, $3.77. It's an $8 book currently, fair market value. So if I were to purchase that, let's say from Midtown for $8, it looks like a 9.8. It's going to cost me $40.35 to get that book today in a 9.8, whereas I just bought it right off of eBay for $36.58. So this fair market value analysis, that one seems a little bit more in tune to like determine whether or not these were good buys. The cover price one is interesting just because it's like, what if I had bought this book in the past? But the past is gone, so we have to look at where we are today with fair market value. The last little bit of analysis is something that I need to really think about here, and maybe you can leave some comments below about this, because this is where I'm getting a little bit lost in determining whether or not this is a good strategy. This one compares the CGC values. Now, again, Wind number one is all over the place. So it's a $35 book. You can buy it today, cover price, if you will. It is a $42 fair market value book. In a CGC 9.8, it has a $39 value. So it's kind of all over the place. I think that if there's some attraction to the story or it becomes optioned, I think these numbers will kind of work themselves out. But I've got, again, my cost here. This is just what I bought the book off of eBay plus tax and shipping. And then I'm comparing the cost versus the CGC value. A lot of these are negative. And what that means is I paid way more than what they're worth in terms of just CGC value. Not by a lot. $2 loss on Proctor Valley Road, $1.10. I'm pretty much getting them at FMV. The tough part here, well, there's two tricky things. And again, the House of Slaughter was kind of a weird one. I can't believe that one finished as low as it did. Cost me $46.59. A 1 in 50 in a CGC 9.8 for House of Slaughter 1 is currently GPA reporting a $65 book in a 9.8. And that Something Is Killing the Children is $106 reported in a 9.8. Here again, so here's where I get a little confused, and it's a little tricky. Do you want to factor in the fees into this? So if you remove the fees, right, and this is where it's buying it slabbed in a 9.8, it removes all of the risk. So the question I have for you is, what is the risk worth plus your time, right, and all of that? And it's like, is there a way to somehow look at these numbers and remove all of the fees and everything, so that I'm trying to figure out, can you actually say that the fees, so the boxing of the book, the bubble wrap, the shipping out, the insurance, and then the book may still not get a 9.8, right? Is it worth it to remove the costs associated with all of that from your purchase price in order to look at value that you're adding to your collection, because you've removed the stress and the anxiety around sending it to CGC? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. How can I actually create value around those sorts of activities, emotions, and feelings, and so on? So hypothetically, if I remove all of the fees, so it's that $32.23 basically, then almost all of these become a positive, except for the Signature Series Department of Truth, which again I'm kind of throwing out because I wanted the book with the yellow slab. But everything else is very positive, right? Proctor Valley Road is still, it's a $30 non-stress value add. I guess that's the best way to put it. There is a no anxiety inducing, as long as the book arrives slabbed securely and you saw the crazy bubble wrap. So as long as that takes place, that transaction completes and you get the book and you're happy with it, then the anxiety of uh, signing up with CGC, figuring out how to send it in. And this is why a lot of people just buy the slab, because it's just easier. It's less stressful. It's worth, like, I here's what I hear a lot, and I have to go full screen for this rant here. So here's what I hear. You have to send your books expedited, and for CGC it's called Express. So what I hear a lot is I hear collectors and speculators, and honestly, these are the same people selling books too. So that's something you have to be careful about, is you're getting advice from people that will tell you 3 minutes later to tune in for their live claim sale. What I hear a lot is you have to send your books express because you're losing money because your comics are sitting somewhere in some warehouse waiting to be picked up. And I always picture the Raiders of the Lost Ark ending with all of the crates, and that's the CGC warehouse, right, with all of your prized possessions sitting in there. So they say send it express, right? That adds more fees. It costs more, that express tier. So this is where it just starts to get a little out of hand, in terms of, and they're like, well, it's worth the $15 extra per book. Well, okay, so the cheapest slab that I got, just going through my numbers, it was the Doctor Doom number 10. It was, my total cost door to door was $36.58. If you sent that book express, now that 32.23 becomes closer to $50 to get that book back express. Now, I'm not saying that everyone's suggesting you send Doctor Doom 10 express, but I'm just saying in general, if you're sending a stack of books express and paying $15 extra a book, it's a hard argument to win against me when you're saying that you're still better off sending raws in to get graded when I can find, a 1 in 50 of a title that has maybe, again, it's lost some steam, it's not as collectible or collected, uh, and I'm picking that up for CGC 9.8 door to door shipped, again, taxes, everything included, for less than ratio. There's something just weirdly wrong with that. I think, I mean, again, if it just it comes down to what's desirable, what has value, what's collectible, and I understand that. So you can't just put a piece of trash in a 9.8 slab and say, well, it cost me $50 to slab this piece of trash, so it's $50 worth of trash. Like, no, it's worthless. It reminds me of that Bad Idea, just invisible book, right? It's worthless. It's garbage. So I do understand that. But when the comic inside the slab has some value, right? I could take my my 1 in 50 right there of House of Slaughter #1 and put it on eBay at like a 1 penny auction. Someone will buy it. If I put random bubble wrap for 1 penny, nobody's going to buy it. It's considered trash. So that proves my point that the comic is collectible and has some value. So that comic in the slab has some value. So the more that you're paying with express tiers and rush shipping and all this other stuff, it's just making more and more sense to find books that recently released moderns, fallen off the radar, and grab them at a decent price. Here's the last thing that I'll talk about that also adds an element of weirdness. So I do a lot of work comparing values reported by these essentially third parties, right? If I'm not reporting the value directly, I'm using services like Cover Price and GPA. My purchase of these books on eBay have now directly affected the value. So this is something else that's messing with me. So if I'm trying to snipe a book, let's say, and I know it costs roughly $30 to get a book graded, and I'm finding moderns for 20, 25, 32, or even 40. That auction final sale before shipping, before tax, gets reported back to GPA, and then the book, it drops in value. So if it's a $50 CGC 9.8 value book, and I buy it for 30, but it costs me close to 50 to get it to me because of shipping and tax, and if I use PayPal credit, and or I put it on a credit card, and then there's that. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of horror stories around like buying a $10 book but it actually costs you 50. The point is, if it's a $50 book, you feel like you purchased it for 30, it costs you about 50 in reality. GPA is going to report the $30 sale and actually lower it from 50 down to, some sort of averaged amount. Maybe it's 48, 45. Maybe it reports the last sale is 30. Maybe there wasn't a sale of this book in the last 90 days and your $30 just dropped the book from 50 to 30. That's the other really weird thing that kind of runs through my head, is that if there's a book that is decreasing in value and I buy it for less than what it's going for to 9.8, I'm going to further push the book down in value, thus making my collectible worth less than even possibly what I paid for because of the other taxes and shipping and things involved. So a lot of stuff here, a lot to think about. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm just on the verge of starting kind of this book of analysis that I'm doing on CGC slabs. I'm very happy with all the books that I got. This one is super cool. I just can't stop looking at it with the yellow slab. But let me know what you think. If I took all of these books raw, sent them to CGC, and I did an unboxing for you, and I was like, look, 9.8, 9.8, 9.8, I get a round of applause, like, boy, you can really grade books. What's the difference? And did I save money here by doing it this way? I'd love your feedback. I think this is a pretty interesting exercise. I'm going to continue to target these books and target these auctions. And let me know what you think. Do you do something very similar? Do you prefer to go raw and get them graded yourself? Do you only buy slabs? I would love to know more of what your strategy is, and whether this was a helpful bit of analysis or just too many numbers, too confusing. I get that. Buy what you like. Certainly that's cool too. I love all of it. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.